All right, ladies and gentlemen, it appears Glaive Kyo, Glue Kyo, the number 2 Kurobot, is back at it again with another banger video. And this time, you're going to have to require some context on Genshin Impact to find out what this is going to be all about. Because Genshin Impact 5.4 update, following the extremely predatory dual banner of Solali and Mavuika back in 5.3, is a filler patch. And it's safe to say that, well, from my point of view, right, seeing everything in it, the main addition being a bathhouse and buildings you can walk into, features we saw back in the turn of the millennium, 2000 in video games, that was the highlight of the patch. And the devs were patting themselves on the back, saying what an incredible job they were doing. They're all just like, oh man, we're doing so much great work. Look, we made a bathhouse. You can walk inside of it. Oh, and here's a new standard character that sucks ass. And it's fair to say that a lot of players weren't happy. You even had creators like Doro44 and Brand Online saying that the patch was mid. And that's sad to see for a game that is making so much money and has been on service for so long. So with that, I'm excited to see what Glaive's thoughts are on the matter and why these filler patches for Genshin Impact are simply getting worse and worse. So with that, let's go ahead, let's get right on into it and see what he's got to say.
Every time Genshin Impact drops yet another dry filler patch, the debate resurfaces like clockwork. Some players claim that they love these dry filler patches, say they need them. Their logic, it gives me time to catch up. They use
This is the most copium excuse I think I've ever heard in the history of gacha gaming. The copium excuse is, well, this filler patch is actually great because now I have so much extra time to save for all my newest waifus or all my newest characters. Now, I just simply don't have to play the game on this patch, or I don't have to play the game that much. And the thing is, if you're at the point where you're justifying a lackluster or content drought patch by saying, now I don't have to play the game as much, what does that even mean? Now at this point, you're happy that you don't have to play the game, or you're happy that there's less stuff to do in the game, and that's just such an odd thing to have unless you're like a completely like whipped player that's just taking whatever the company's going to give you. It's the worst one I've ever seen, and it's such a popular one for such a strange reason.
To catch up. They use this downtime to clear story quests they ignored for months, finish exploring the 75% of the map they barely touched, or finally build that character they pulled 6 banners ago but never.
It's fair to say, right, that having issues like, oh, now I get time to do all the story quests that I wasn't going to do before, doesn't that just mean that the story quests might just take too fucking long? That they're so unwieldy, they're so unfun, there's something that nobody actually wants to do. And that only occurs, right, because the devs in their design of these quests make them as obtuse, annoying, and lengthy as possible. So it's like creating a problem, right, with the quests being unplayable, and then also give the solution of a filler patch so that people have time to play these unplayable quests. Amazing. Wow. Incredible. What a solution. Hats off to the devs for that one.
Never actually used. But then there's the other side. The people looking at this argument and going, hold.
Okay, Glaive. Guess I gotta move my camera. Let me just go ahead and do that then.
Looking at this argument and going, hold on, you're celebrating the fact that a game has nothing to do. That's not a feature, that's a problem. Because if the best thing about a patch is that it lets you ignore it, what does that say about the state of the game? This isn't just a casual debate, it's a fundamental question about game design. Are these dry patches actually beneficial to the player's experience, or are they just a symptom of creative stagnation? Because at some point you have to ask, is Hoyoverse giving players breathing room, or are they just running out of ideas? Let's break it down. First of all, I'm not a game developer yet. I don't work.
I would say that Hoyoverse is kind of like at their limit. I would say they're kind of like at their peak in terms of where the design is going. You just have to look at the character releases in Natlan and how they're like, they seem so out of the ordinary, so outside of the box when it comes to creativity. Like, what is the reason for like full bodysuit latex, like motorcycle people in the same region as like denim booty shorts DJ, and then like fish riding girl who like uses the maracas? It's like, it's such an odd combination of aesthetics where you just feel like the devs are quite literally just throwing random shit at the wall to see what works. And that to me is a sign that they are losing ideas that they're like losing motivation on the design side. And it's pretty clear because Natlan just looks like a random combination of fucking the most absurd pop culture references you've ever seen. Like Kanish has like pixelated art. Like what is it? Like what is it supposed to be at the end of the day?
First of all, I'm not a game developer yet. I don't work for a gaming company yet. But come on, how hard is it for Hoyoverse to make a decent patch? This is the same company that shamelessly lifts ideas from other games and anime, waters them down, and calls it a day. They have the money, the resources, and the industry dominance to make every patch at least solid. So why are we still getting filler, and why are you still liking it? And let's not act like this is a new issue, by the way. The pattern has been obvious since launch. Every new region gets a big Archon quest from point 0 to point 3, and then we hit Lantern Rite as a nice little distraction, right? And then 3 to 4 months of nothing. No meaningful story, no substantial content, just events that feel like the developers opened a Google Doc labeled recycled gameplay ideas and picked one at random. In Inazuma, it's the same cycle. In Sumeru, it's the same cycle. In Fontaine, is it the same cycle? Wait, hold on. Something might change here. No, it's the same cycle. Again.
What you guys have to realize is that we still have the worst filler patch to come. It's when it's centered around a main event. Remember the potions one from last year? That one took you about 7 to 8 hours. I swear to God, maybe 5 to 6 hours for you to complete the potion event, which you did in like Mondstadt and like Lisa was telling you to do it. That one took so long to do. It was ridiculous. I believe it was called Alchemical Ascension. And the thing is, you would get no encounter points from doing it either. You would spend like 3 hours in game making the potions, selling them, doing all of that shit, and you would fill out like 2 out of 4 of your dailies for the day from doing all of that shit. And it was one of the most absurd, most ridiculous wastes of time I think that any player has ever had in the game. There were some people that liked the gameplay because there were parts of it that were like a little bit interesting or a little bit fun, but overall, dog shit. Just dog shit, complete dog shit, if you look at the experience as a whole. And guys, that is still yet to come. That's still in the 5.x cycle. It was worse than the fishing. Think about the fishing as, if you don't like the fishing, sure. But if you don't like the fishing, you would hate Alchemical Ascension. That event was completely one of the worst things the game has ever seen. But there are some people that liked it. And guess what? The people that liked it don't actually like playing Genshin Impact. They don't like the combat. Because holy shit, it's a far cry from anything you're actually doing in the game. 1,000,000%.
It's the same cycle. Again, and again. And now with Natlan on the horizon, are we really just going to sit here like good little boys and accept this as normal? Let's put it in perspective. Genshin Impact is a $1 billion game. $1 billion. They have the kind of money that should let them obliterate the concept of filler patches entirely. Yet here we are acting like it's reasonable for them to stretch out content just to keep players engaged on fumes. At what point do we stop treating this as inevitable and start holding them accountable for it? But let's get something straight. Filler patches aren't just a minor inconvenience, they actively harm the game. People say, oh, it gives us time to catch up. No, that's just coping. These updates aren't designed to respect your time, they're designed to waste it. Filler patches recycle old content and stall the narrative. Instead of meaningful additions, we get rerun events, time-gated fetch quests, and lore drops that barely add anything. Imagine if your favorite anime just stopped progressing the plot for months. Would you call that good writing? No! Then why do we let Hoyoverse get away with it? Oh, it's because it's an anime. It's not a gacha game. You don't understand. No, you don't understand, Sip Steven. Stop defending your $1 billion company. Hold them accountable. These dry patches lead to creative stagnation. When the game goes silent, players stop logging in, momentums die, and the engagement drops. There's a reason people joke that Genshin is in maintenance mode half the time. If nothing interesting happens, why should players care? Low effort patches compromise quality. If mediocrity becomes the standard, it spreads into everything.
I think it's a little bit too late because they've set themselves on a schedule. They make sure that they have a shit ton of these filler patches every single version, and it's pretty clear by now. The player base recognizes, right? Yep, the game's just not good right now. At this moment in time, every single year, the game will not be good, and it's just something that the player base accepts at this point. It's just something that they're okay with. And unfortunately, it's like they don't even do filler well. It's not like even like a fun side activity that people think about during the patch or that they think about they're going to do. It's just annoying filler that's not fun, that isn't engaging at all to the player. And it's something that everyone has just accepted. And I think 5.4, just like not having more of a vocal outcry for how absolutely dog shit it is, it's just a sign that it's become accepted. And it's unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate because I don't think that this kind of low quality patch is something that should be accepted when you see the quality coming out in all of the other games in the gacha space.
Storytelling mid, combat mid, events mid, even the character designs mid. If Hoyoverse can push out bare minimum update and still make millions, what incentive do they have to innovate? You Genshin players deserve high quality patches, not placeholders. Genshin is one of the top games in its genre. That means expectations should be higher, not lower. With the money and influence Hoyoverse has, there is no excuse for them to operate like a struggling indie studio. If filler patches are the norm, it's not because they have to be, it's because they choose to be. Better updates keep the community engaged. People don't log in just to exist in the game. They need content that actually adds value. New stories, mechanics, and something to look forward to. That is not a radical demand, that's just basic game design. And let's be clear, not every patch has to be a game changer. But if a billion-dollar company can't even guarantee that their off patches would still be good, what are we even doing here? But you might need receipts, so let me give you one. The newest Genshin update, the Genshin 5.4, is what happens when a game stops trying. Actually, they stopped trying a few while ago, but now it's getting up again. Characters Yume Mizuki is immediately getting dumped into the standard banner, the patch after this one, which is...
This to me is kind of like just the most interesting phenomenon, is that they do such a horrifying job with balancing the standard, the 5-star characters that go to standard. Everybody already knows right off the rip that they're going to be completely trash. They're completely garbage. They're not worth investing in at all. Their weapon will run one time and then probably never actually run again. And so they even build in FOMO into like the freebie that they give to players. It doesn't make any sense at all how they design these standard characters and how they like weave them into the system. It's like both predatory, but then also not at the same time. And it's just like, what is the point? What is the point of their existence? I heard the character is worse than Sucrose, a 4-star that was released in 1.0. What is the point of her existence?
After this one, which is basically Hoyoverse admitting that, yeah, she's not worth pulling. And who the hell is even Sidgweenie, bro? Who actually want her, bro? Come on. The only good unit this patch, a rerun character, Furina. But hey, what about the events though? Hours worth of Yap Fest. And then a PNG of Aether or Lumine taking a bath with some Inazuma characters. Yay! A PNG so happy. A TCG update that nobody asked for.
I would be the most pissed of all with the fact that this is like built into the game. That this is something that they decided they wanted to like expand across the life cycle of the game. And it's literally just like one of the stupidest game modes that I feel like nobody actually plays. But people feel compelled to actually play TCG because it gives like primo gems and shit. It's just like, people just wonder what could have been done with the dev time or the dev work being allocated into TCG. What if that was redirected towards the main game? I feel like that's the question that every single player has. What if all of this work, all of this design, all of this, like, all these man hours, right, spent on this fucking TCG, what if they were just put into the game itself? That's the question that every single player has whenever they see a goddamn update to this pile of shit. Every single time.
UOL features that should have existed 4 years ago.
Oh, nice. They added a FF option. Hey, maybe it's actually playable now. They added the FF option.
This isn't innovation, it's housekeeping. So what do you do after finishing all the quote-unquote content? You log in daily and do your dailies. Yep, isn't that exciting? Only in Genshin, where they are still making the savior of nation run food deliveries. That's right, the same protagonist who has fought gods, saved civilization in Liyue, and defied fate itself by fighting the god of Inazuma is being asked to do insignificant and uninspiring fetch quests. What are we doing? And let's also talk about how painful it is to play your game daily. Genshin, your dailies take so long compared to other games. It's insane. In HSR, you can just spend your energy and be done with your dailies.
So I know the way that Glaive worded this, it sounds like a critique as a whole to like the Gacha MCs being asked to do like kind of like menial or dumb shit. I would have to say that when it comes to Wuthering Waves and the fishing event, some could view that as like menial or dumb shit. But let's be honest here, right? We were doing the fishing event to check up on Cetus the Tidebreaker. That's why we were doing the fishing event, to like go and assist one of the biggest and most powerful echoes in the region. And so even if you could view the fishing event as like something that was like a little bit more casual, a little bit more like fetch questy, guys, we were tackling a pretty big problem during that quest. A pretty big ass problem, and then it culminates right into like a big fight at the end. So I mean, even when we're in WuWa, we're doing like the really like casual menial stuff. It's for like a greater purpose and actually has an impact on the story. Versus, yeah, Lisa and her potion shop can go fuck herself.
and be done with your dailies. In Zelda Zone Zero, you can just scratch a card, go coffee, spend your energy, and then be done with your dailies. In Wuthering Waves, you can also do the same thing. So why can't you do the same thing, Genshin? God, why does it have to be commission quests? 4 of them. This patch isn't just dry, it's a wasteland, and people are defending this. Why? You know what? I know the answer. It's because we've been trained to expect mediocrity. They are treating you like dogs. They're telling you to sit, roll over, take this filler patch, take this filler patch, take this filler patch. Oh. Somewhere along the way, players decided that, well, at least it's better than nothing. It's not good enough, and Hoyoverse knows it. At some point, we have to stop excusing laziness and start demanding better. Because if we...
I'm gonna be honest, in a lot of circumstances, I would say that having nothing and just getting like a daily reward claiming and you don't have to play the minigames would have been better than half the shit that Genshin does. Like, you just see some of the shit here on the screen. You're like, I came onto Genshin Impact to go play a combat action open world game. And it's like, you have like all of these like super short, kind of fucking annoying mini games with like progression and stuff in them. And you're just like, look, there's like 2 more after this. And you're just like, oh God, I just want to play the game. I just want to play the fucking game. I don't want to do any of this shit. And it's just, it happens so often and it dilutes the patch. And it doesn't even feel like you're playing Genshin Impact anymore, or the devs didn't design this event or the minigames for people that actually liked Genshin Impact. They're so slow, they're super stingy, they take a long ass time to progress, and it's just a pain. Every time.
Excusing laziness and start demanding better. Because if we don't, this is the future of Genshin. Empty patches, recycled content, and a dev team that gets away with doing the bare minimum while still making billions of doubloons.
And I think the biggest problem is when you think about all of the other Hoyoverse games as well, you think about ZZZ and Honkai Star Rail, I feel like they're starting to like share mini games where they'll have like a group of like 3 that they'll like rotate across like each title. And then like you just get the same exact fucking mini games. They're all like annoying. They all have like different elements to them. And it's like they just keep rotating them across every single game. Every single game.
Don't know about you, but I expect better than that. Alright, let's talk about Wuthering Waves 2.1. Some people might look at this patch and go, well, it's just another dry filler patch like Genshin.
Alright, the
and to that I say,
time.
are we actually playing the same game? Look, is 2.1 a perfect update? No, but it is far from dry. First of all, fishing. And before you roll your eyes, it's actually fun. Somehow they took one of the most overused filler mechanics in gaming and made it satisfying. It's a relaxing side activity that doesn't feel like a waste of time, even though it probably is. Honestly, 10 out of 10. Would abandon every Hoyoverse game for this. Oh my God. And then we got the new zones like the Riccioli Islands or the underground.
I think one point that Glaive failed to mention is something that I talked about before. It's linked to the story. It's linked to the overarching story, the fishing quest. Like, if you don't do the fishing quest and you were to proceed with the main story, there's something that you would feel is missing. And it doesn't really take a long time at all to actually get to the story important elements. And there's so many character interactions and so many amazing NPCs that are actually engaging. Like, Starbuck is a freak. Starbuck is an absolute freak, and he's hilarious when he's on the screen. And then Ahab, right, is like he has Alzheimer's, or he's like schizophrenic, or like something, right? And he's like an interesting character to learn more about as well. And I think like that's just something that's missing from like the core design or like the core implementation of the other Gacha games. The fact that the entire fishing quest is voiced too just makes it so much more engaging in every single way possible. It's voiced well.
Riccioli Islands or the underground vaults, those give players a fresh world to explore. It's not just some empty land thrown in for the sake of content padding. It actually adds to the exploration loop. The combat updates, look, I'm not gonna lie, the new hologram boss is a menace, the kind that makes you reconsider your life choices mid-fight. Do I hate the off-screen mechanics? Absolutely. Do I also respect the challenge? Yes. It forces you to step up your game, and I'd rather take that than another mindless damage sponge, okay? Now let's be real, Whimpering Waste is a weak spot. It's not bad, but compared to the roguelike mode like we had before, it feels like a downgrade. If this mode has the punch of the Somnium Labyrinth thing, it would have had a home run. But hey, it has a lot of potential, so let Kuro Games cook. Moving on, we have Peavy. I don't care if you pulled for her or not, this character is a 10 out of 10. Flashy, fluid, and she hits like a truck. Or at least she looks like she hits like a truck. She's one of those rare characters that feel good to play, even if she wasn't meta breaking. If you like Frieren, the anime, she attacks like Frieren. She's like Zoltrak, Zoltrak, Zoltrak. That's awesome. But also, Wuthering Waves knows how to make their characters exciting while not completely breaking the meta balance. And then we got the QOL upgrades. Echo loadouts, finally. After 4 years, we finally got... Wait. Oh, wrong game. Sorry, man. And of course, the music...
You fucking wish. You wish, buddy boy. You wish. I guess this is the thing, right? You can expect that artifact loadouts are going to be coming to Genshin within like the next 2 or 3 versions. And people will still be saying again and again, like a Winter Soldier Ultimate, that Hoyo had this plan the entire time. Hoyo had the artifact loadouts planned the entire time, and it's not because of Wuthering Waves. It's not because we have Echo loadouts in WuWa. Hoyo was actually going to do this at this exact time in 2025, and the fact that WuWa did it first has nothing to do with Genshin's implementation. Remember that, everybody. That's what they've been saying for every single quality of life feature that's been added to Genshin Impact following the release of Wuthering Waves, and they've never added this many before.
Wait, oh, wrong game, sorry man. And of course the music is still fantastic. If you ever call yourself humming a game's main theme like the Arena Sita music in the shower, that's how you know the OST is solid. And I've been doing a lot of that, honestly. So does 2.1 have flaws? Yes. Ray tracing, pretty mid, and it's locked behind a high-end GPUs, which is, I guess it's kind of normal. Also, there's no wings in the 1.0 zones, which feels like a cruel joke at this point. Going back to the old areas without the wings feels like moving through mud, and at this point I'd rather fast travel everywhere than deal with the agony of free 2.0 movement. But here's the thing, even with these issues, it's still an 8 out of 10 update. It's still good. This isn't a patch that just keeps the game on life support. It's a functional, engaging update and actually gives players something to do. If this is Wuthering Waves on an off patch, a filler patch, I'd take it over Genshin Impact's entire yearly content cycle. Here's the thing, filler patches don't have to be bad. When done right, they can actually improve the game. But that only happens when a developer actually listens to feedback and put in the effort. And when they do, a few key things happen. First, the game becomes more polished. Addressing issues, refining mechanics, and fixing bugs means that when the next major update drops, it is built on stronger foundations. It is the difference between a well-maintained house and one with a leaking roof and questionable wiring. One will last, the other's a disaster waiting to happen.
And I think this is the thing, right? You could view 2.1 as one of the lackluster patches in WuWa history, but this is the thing, guys. If they're willing to combine amazing quality of life, like the Echo presets, into a, maybe lacking on the main story side patch, you also have to factor in all the other shit that they added, right? Like so many systems upgrades that make the game pretty much better in every single way. Wuthering Waves, while it may have some issues and while it may have some stuff that needs to be ironed out, I'm just going to go ahead and say that Wuthering Waves has made WuWa a better game as a whole. And once they go in, they make like some updates to things like AI, they make some updates to things like trinkets, it is going to be a solid addition to the game that I feel like most players are going to pretty much unilaterally enjoy. It has like all of the structural stuff that's needed. It just needs some slight tweaks to get better. And that's the thing, just some small tweaks across a lot of the things that we're seeing in this patch, and we're in such a great spot heading into every single future update. And we all know what's coming in version 2.2. We got the jellyfish lady. Oh, and I bet she's going to be real fun to play.
There's a disaster waiting to happen. Second of all, players actually feel valued. It's not rocket science when devs acknowledge feedback and act on it. Players trust them more. That trust turns into higher engagement, better retention, and positive word of mouth. The bare minimum for a healthy live service game. Maybe you can get a St. Tontas in Genshin soon. Well, maybe not soon, but one day we can hope. Third, a good filler keeps the community engaged. Not every patch has to reinvent the wheel, but meaningful side content, fun events, quality of life improvements, actual substance keeps players logging in. Instead of treating the game like an on-again, off-again relationship, you don't want your player base to feel like they're enduring patches instead of enjoying them. And finally, it builds reputation for responsiveness. When people see their feedback turning into real changes, they stop assuming developers are just milking the game dry. Wuthering Waves has already shown that you can deliver downtime patches without making them feel like dead air. The question,
just add a shit ton of quality of life in the patches where you think there's going to be some downtime in the features. Unfortunately, Genshin used their downtime in 5.4 to add the most pointless fucking artifact or character sorting in the game. They literally just let you, filter the characters by their fucking element. They let you filter your playable characters by the element. Are you serious? Are you serious? That's what we're doing 5 years into the release of the game. Filtering the characters by the fucking element. Come on, guys.
is, why isn't Hoyoverse doing the same thing? At the end of the day, a good filler patch isn't just a placeholder, it's an investment in the game's longevity. But if developers treat it like a throwaway update, that's exactly what it becomes. We have to stop pretending that mediocrity is acceptable just because it's familiar. If a smaller company like Kuro Games can deliver meaningful filler patches with new characters, new mechanics, and actual quality of life improvements, then there is zero excuse for a billion-dollar company like Hoyoverse to keep serving up dry, uninspired content and expecting people to be grateful helpful. Hoyoverse is a company with the resources, the talent, and the infrastructure to push out updates that actually matter. But instead, they're serving us the same reheated leftovers, and people are lining up to defend it. At some point, you have to ask yourself, are you genuinely satisfied with what you're getting, or have you just been conditioned to expect less? I've said this millions of times already. Live service games thrive on engagement, players having reason to log in beyond just maintaining their daily streak. But when patches start to feel like obligations instead of experiences, that's a problem. And the most frustrating part, it's not that Hoyoverse can't do better, it's that they choose not to. Because here's the truth, you shouldn't have to lower your standards just because you're used to disappointment. Expect more, demand bigger, because if we don't, nothing changes.
All right, I have to say overall, this is a complete banger video. I think it dives into what the biggest issues are with all of these patches that we're constantly receiving in Genshin Impact, where they're undoubtedly lower quality. They're undoubtedly like bloated with all of these stupid mini games that are not actually fun, that players in a lot of ways are like forcing themselves to enjoy because there's actually nothing to do, and they have to engage with it to get all the Primo Gem rewards that are usually in a lot more interactive activities. And so this is the thing, right? It's like they're hooked because of the Primos, and then they have to play all these garbage patches, and they've been playing them for so many years now, it's become just like accepted that 2 of the patches every single region are going to be absolutely trash. They're going to be completely dog water, and there's really nothing that players are expecting out of it. Oh, now I'll get to play more of the story quests that I've been putting off for the past 6 months. And the thing is, when you see a game like WuWa that's gone in and they've made their filler patches actually good, actually enjoyable, actually content rich, and even linked to the story as well, adding on top of all of that, right, amazing quality of life too, boy oh boy, there's a lot of catch up that the Genshin devs need to do. And the thing is, having WuWa be this popular and be this big and set this much of an example is just going to make every single gacha game in the space better as well. Because, let's be honest here, the Genshin devs have been getting embarrassed over the past couple of months. And a lot of people are noticing, and that's why they're starting to make some more changes to their game. So with that, again, awesome vid by Glaive. Let me know what you all think. Peace.